you required to file at the end of the year, say December, or would you rather wait till the following year, June? Or how do you stabilize that so that it falls, within your time scale?
The best way to stabilize it is you can set your first accounting period to be 18 months.
18 months.
The maximum of it.
Okay.
So if you start in June, let's say, then you set your whole 18 months.
Okay.
Then you file for the full 18 months.
So that is allowed for starters?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
You don't have to pay the penalty. Not at all. He simply does it to advise the tax authorities that this is what I've done and it's allowed. It's allowed to be allowed by law.
Very exciting.
He's very happy to keep the taxman's money for 18 months.
Oh, there are conditions though. It's like always a condition. So we'll get there. But generally 18 months is fine. From next year it will be a little bit more painful, but this year we're fine. Get into that. Sorry?
Just need
18 months. Yes. So, and then generally you have your revenue or your income as a business, and then you are supposed to income, and these are all the expenses I undertook to get to that income. The onus is on you to prove that this expense is generally So, tax rates 25% generally, unless you fall into any of what we're going to discuss here. Rural banks don't pay tax. If you set up a new rural bank, you don't pay tax for the first 10 years, and after that, it's only 8%. So, anybody setting up a bank?
Yeah.
Free zones as well. If you set up a free zone enterprise, zero tax for 10 years, then you pay tax after that up to 8%, depending on the type of industry you are in.
Sorry, please, can you help my understanding? For tax purposes, what is the definition of the free zone?
Okay. You're a free zone company if you are located in Ghana, but you are exporting the majority of your outputs, if you like. You have to export a minimum of 70% of your outputs. That's one of the key conditions of being recognized as a free zone entity. So we're sort of governments trying to get overseas or multinationals to come in and use Ghana as a hub for their West African activities. So they bring everything to Ghana and then take from here to Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and the like. But as they're doing that, they are employing people, they are using our resources. So, you know, we're getting something out of them being located here in Ghana. Now, again, there was a little bit of hula baloo about free zones recently, because some of them end up selling goods in Ghana. So they changed the law recently, just two months ago. If you sell goods in Ghana, you pay tax at the normal 25 rates, and everything you export, the income on that is at 8%. So they rectified that now.
So the 8% is, that's it.
That's it.
You don't go up to it.
You don't go up to 25. As long as you keep within your free zone, I don't know what you want to call it, rules and regulations, you're good. Yeah. We have what we call locational incentives as well. So if you're a manufacturing entity and you're located in Accra or Tema, where there's a lot of other activity, you pay tax at the normal rates. But you can go and locate yourself in another regional capital to try and boost up activity there.
Kaswa.
Thank you.
Central.
Actually, maybe Kaswa is part of Accra.
No,
Yeah.
Kaswa is central region.
It's central region.
Yeah.
Oh, then you're fine. You get elsewhere, 50% reduction. In all the other regional capitals, you get a 25% reduction. So it's always best. Baltic, for example, their factory is in exactly. So 50% reduction. It's all that. Okay, hotels now 20%. Hotel, anybody here? Hotel?
Hostels.
Hotel. Engaged in
Now 20, was it lower or
it was
higher?
22, and I think the lobby had to get a reduction rate just recently. Companies engaged in non-traditional exports, 8%. When we say non-traditional, things like lumber,
Yeah.
those sort of things. And then somebody asked about real estate, 0%, and then you pay the normal tax rate after 5 years. But to qualify for that, you have to be registered with the exactly, and also be producing low-income housing.
So after 5 years, I can just re-register. I can just
Start a
Start
new
a new company.
exactly.
Wow.
I shouldn't be saying that here.
you're on tape.
Exactly. Yep. Right, move on. Agro-processing. Again, locational incentives, depending on where you want to put yourself. If you put yourself in the northern or upper regions, 0. So anybody fancy moving up north to, do some shea butter farming, that sort of stuff, you don't pay any taxes.
Thought you'd go back home.
And the same for farms. Farming tree crops, cattle, livestock, cocoa byproducts, processing of wastes, you're exempt for a minimum of 7 years. So the Zoom lines have been paid. I think we'll get there very soon. I mean, to be honest, record keeping hasn't been great so far on the tax authority side of things. So they haven't really been able to really keep a handle of what people are doing. But with, you know, tax identification numbers and things, we'll get there. But I'll get into that detail.
I'm not sure if I saw anything on energy. They're doing things regarding saving energy and stuff like that. Do you pay tax or you have zero for
Nothing in the law as yet that I'm aware of.
I haven't seen anything.
It's not paying from your money.
Yeah, I think we have to make a case because if we are crying that it's difficult for us to produce energy, electricity and stuff like that, and somebody decides I'm going to help with that, the person should enjoy some form of tax exemption.
Indeed. So what happens is generally at the moment, what we have more foreign companies coming in to get involved in energy projects. So a lot of the agreements are done in Parliament, and as part of an energy company, try and get an agreement that is ratified by Parliament. And you have to be registered with appropriate ministry. It's not great. I think it's the Ministry of Works and Housing.
How do you
No. Yeah. So
Let's not forget pay tax.
you guys are reminded. They say there's two groups of people who always complain about paying taxes. If anybody oh yeah, fresh graduates. Government is trying to let's say if you have one graduate, you have 100% complement because one graduate versus one. The fresh graduate. That's it. So there's
all
no
the
definition.
management trainee
So I think as for small business, this one is quite lucrative because you have
4 years of a fresh graduate.
Well, let me take a step back. The national service is more of a government.
The undergrads, you know, and then the following year you push them to masters, they still be masters.
They are being very smart.
I kept a very sort of high level and brief. There's a lot to it, but at least just to give you guys a general introduction. Sorry?
It doesn't help.
These are all things we should really be lobbying. What is withholding tax and why is it important? Basically, withholding tax is an advance tax that somebody pays to the GRA for you. I've tried to set out the process there. It's a bit smaller patient, so I'll go through it. But it's really the GRA's or the Ghana Revenue Authority's way of getting money very regularly. That's the bottom line. Okay, and let's say I buy some goods from you. Okay, you issue me an invoice. I'm supposed to pay that invoice. If your invoice is for 100, because of withholding tax, I shouldn't pay you the full 100. I should take some tax out of it and pay you, let's say, 90. That 10, I have to go and pay it to the GRA and say, I paid you, but I took 10 tax. So give me a certificate that I can give to you as evidence that I've taken your 10 tax. That's it. So what is supposed to happen is I pay you, I deduct the withholding tax at the appropriate rate. I pay the withholding tax to the GRA, and then I get a certificate which I'm supposed to give to you, and that is evidence that you have paid tax. Generally, it's not so straightforward. There's a delay in the process. Sometimes certificates get lost and all of that. But as a business, if somebody has withheld tax, we chase it because that is that's money. That's pure money right there.
So then when I get my certificate, when I'm filing my taxes, that's proof so
Exactly.
that I can deduct it.
Exactly. So if at the end of the year your tax liability is 100, you say, oh, hang on, I paid 10 earlier on the year, so I'm only paying you 90 right now. The only proof you have is the certificate. If you don't have it, they'll come and chase you for the 10 that you haven't paid.
Some companies are exempt from withholding taxes or
Indeed. Yeah. Some companies can get exemption approvals from the GRA. So it's something to consider as you are, going. You can apply and say, look, I have cash flow problems. I'm in an industry where I'm struggling, who withholding tax from me, I'm not paying tax, I'm making losses. So please help me. Give me an exemption. And they'll give you a letter to say you're exempt from paying withholding tax for this period to that period. And at least it helps your cash flow as you're going through.
And is there an amount involved in terms of the ceiling?
Yes.
This applies to only public institutions, right?
Unfortunately not.
Really?
It applies to all corporates. It's only individuals who shouldn't withhold. But it applies to corporate bodies. All corporate bodies are supposed to withhold when they pay.
But in practice, it's just public.
If
Actually,
it's
we
no. If you don't, okay, I'll get to the penalties. Maybe I'll say it now. But basically, there's actually even a threshold. The first 500 Ghana cedis that I pay every single person here is withholding tax free, and then anything over the 500 is done on a contract basis. So if you have a contract, you do contract, then 500 is free, 500 for 1 year. And the next year it starts again.
So transaction.
I'll get there right now. The tax losses that you withhold. If you don't, and they come and audit you, for example, there's an automatic penalty of up to 30% of the tax. The GRO, don't let to see.
So
No, before that, what if you're paying VAT? Do you still
Ease of reference 90
Wow.
plus whatever the VAT here would be, 17.5. That's what you pay. Anyway,
yes.
you have to go and
The excess.
start with hold. Management they will
The last
come in Ghana.
hope.
They can also
So what's the
You're paying to
Live.
Class is good, which is great. Well, go to somewhere right. Let's say it's
120, it makes it
Given this person
so
is always a start. That's you're comes to apply.
we have to pay.
If you pay
conversion
another 100. Conversion. Convert.
There's no one.
There's also a person for future.
Or someone.
That they should.
That's every state.
once
will be included.
we have to do an
And the apparatus.
Question: If
Right?
yes.
Okay. Did they withhold when they were paying you?
No, so maybe let me break it down. Let's say the University of Ghana online application. Everything is done online now, applying. So you have to buy a voucher.
Okay.
So if I go to the university and say, I want to sell your vouchers for you, I sell them probably to the tune of.
I am their representative here in Ghana.
Yes.
You want to buy something from them. They say, deal with our local agents. So you come to me and I quote you a price, you know. So I tell you that, look, this is going to cost you $1,000. I come to get payment and then you say, oh, we have withheld. And I said, no. I'm having to ship this thing from the States, and so the law states that you cannot withhold. And then they ask, you know, give us a document that shows that we cannot withhold.
Yes, that's in the tax law.
Exactly.
So you can give them you can show them where the tax law where it says you shouldn't be paying withholding tax. So I can always understand. Moving swiftly on. Okay. I think the next step was to go through VAT. So we've spent a lot of time on withholding. I don't know if anybody's got any more questions on the withholding tax front, but it's very important. That's the easiest target for them when they come in and audit. It's the first thing they always look at. So once you are okay on the withholding tax, you should be relaxed on other things.
And the money
Let me
people
just
don't know
ask,
about.
That's the thing.
let me just ask, the scenario that he gave, does that then mean that a company that's an agent does not pay taxes?
They're supposed to. Let's look at a simple example. Maybe I'll go through it straight to that side. Travel agents. Okay. The tax law says you don't withhold if you're paying to an airline. To the they pay that airline. If they don't withhold when they pay the airline, exactly, because you should have withheld. So you always have to get to the airline and ask them, do they normally withhold when they are paying the airlines? If they do,
course.
Generally, yes, but if you, I'll get to that, but you really have to build a nice relationship with the tax guys and you understand the business. And, oh, it helps, so you really does, the branch manager. Because they can use their, sorry?
A bottle of wine.
You know that the president actually stopped all hand plates in the
Yeah.
with regards to withholding tax expense. You're purchasing all these things from external, blah, blah. What is the law?
You're not supposed to pay tax, so get there.
I'm flying back into the
No, no, no,
system.
It's like
Fees don't get withheld.
individuals' fees. Actually, I had some practical examples, so whilst we're here, we might as well go through them.
No, I don't think so.
Why? It depends on the amount, that is true. That is true. Sorry?
So the air conditioning, the air
Okay, for
here per this week.
Late.
But you see, the withholding tax is on a contract basis. So everything that adds up to the first 500.
Oh, okay.
And then
Conditions, right?
To be able to get the
Concerning
Hold on, guys. It's all
Yes.
some of these people.
You're supposed to have a TIN number. This question.
Some of these
Oh,
told from them. It's painful. I just have to say it.
You're
Yeah.
your
Hold on, utility.
don't report.
Prepaid food has previously you go down you go and buy the ticket. I know. Yeah? Okay. So you have output VAT and input VAT. That's what you need to think about. When you hear output VAT, is I'm going to buy something from you. Okay? When you hear input VAT, I'm going to buy something from you. You charge me VAT. I pay you that VAT. Okay, so for me it's an input because I'm the one who paid you that VAT. And vice versa. Output VAT. Okay, you are the one who is applying tax that somebody else is going to pay. So for you, it's an output. So always think about it now. Output versus input. Do you pay or do you collect?
Again,
Sorry? So, inputs. As a business, you you're okay.
What are you saying? So people are buying anything from you, whatever is applicable. And I'm asking, am I supposed to be, or this the price plus VAT? That's
Yes,
what
price plus VAT.
I'm supposed to be doing
No,
that.
no, no, no.
Never.
You're not supposed to. But versus the VAT that you have paid. Input.
70.
Okay, this is 70. And then at the end of the day, you have a net output. So you pay
though, then it goes as a credit.
It goes as a credit.
But if you are not registered, then you can't even claim
I
it.
never claim it.
Or if you are at 3% VAT rate, you can't also claim it.
There you go.
Yeah. So the government incentivizes you to
Yes.
be a 17.
Fees and subscriptions paid to sporting, social membership clubs, that sort of thing. You pay VAT, pure money for the government. And then motor vehicles and vehicle spend. Necessary. Be careful for your business.
Okay.
Now, let me use it. I'm fighting this battle with the GRA. Mining company on site, Tapa. And we've got a hospital on site for the staff. Now, it's a remote location. In the hospital, we've got a company that provides the doctors and the nurses and things. So, staffing, labor hire. In the VAT Act, labor hire is a VATable item. Okay, but they came to audit. It's a lot of money, and they said they're not giving me the deductions because it's labor hire relating to hospitals, which is exempt. So they look at it in totality, and all my VAT that I've paid, I can't get it back. You know, so
Isn't that something that helps you run your business?
exactly. And that's my argument. We don't want our staff to be leaving the mine sites to go millions of miles away when there's a hospital here they can go to for their families and everything. Another argument, the families use the hospital, so it is not wholly exclusively and necessarily for us.
But the families are dependent on the workers.
Exactly.
And this one is
So I'm fighting it hard.
There's no common sense.
I'm fighting it hard. There's a lot
That's
of
imagine
money.
coming over and saying
So,
it's unbelievable.
who are those who fall within the 3% flat rate?
Here we go.
Okay.
So these are the thresholds, the registration thresholds. Basically, it's always best to be here, 17.5%. Oh, I haven't updated that. Oh yeah, 15%. It's always best to be here. If you think you're going to earn 120,000 Ghana cedis within the next 12 months, you can go and register. Or if you think you're going to earn 13K in the next 3 months, please go and register. Okay? That's for the 15%. That's the higher 17.5%. VAT is actually VAT of 15 and then national health insurance of 2.5 to make it the full 17.5. And then you have the special scheme, the VAT flat rate scheme, which is a 3% scheme. That applies to businesses that earn revenue. This is revenue of between 10 to 90,000 in 12 months. You register and you start applying VAT. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of the VAT flat rate scheme.
Me too.
Good. So always push to go here. Always push to go
Even
here.
if your revenue is in
Even
the
if
bracket?
it's your own estimate. I think I'm going to make money this year. I'm going to make in excess of this. So register me at the higher rate. If it comes to it, they can deregister you or put you back here. Now, the reason why the basic or the normal VAT is better than this is here you get input tax deduction. So all the VAT that you paid, you can still pay this. Here, you don't get it at all. So you can be paying VAT and paying VAT and paying VAT, and every month you still have to pay them the 3% that you've charged on your monies. So it's always good to be registered as a standard rate.
Because VAT is actually a consumer tax,
yes,
then you become the final consumer. So
yes,
if you
year to year. It takes time and you have to chase and all of that stuff.
They make more money when you're in the special scheme.
yes.
You don't get your inputs or your credits back.
So what advice would you give occasionally to a small company that eventually, that you tend to deal with a company that is not VAT registered once in a while, and
that shouldn't be. You only get that VAT invoice booklet when you are registered for VAT purposes. So you get an invoice booklet that either tells you to charge at 3% or at 15 or 17.5%.
So I'm dealing with a company that should be VAT registered and it's not. So they don't charge me that, I just pay.
For 1 month.
Yes.
14.4 months.
Yes. But that time I jumped to 1.3.
And then you take something your month. It's crazy.
And more away.
We are effectively funding the government.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go quickly. Small startup business. It's good to take note of this. Any expenses you acquire pre-registration, at least you can still get the inputs for. So for stock, for inventory, 4 months. If you buy any capital
Before
goods,
registering for VAT or
before registering for VAT.
Okay.
Capital goods 6 months. So you can still get those deductions. Yeah. But there's a condition. At the time or the date you register, you must still have the goods on hand. So they must still be in your possession. So you're effectively buying all those things to start business, not that you were trading before and then you come and register. So it's really geared at startups.
So really before you should even, once you have the idea, you should then talk to a tax person to understand.
Talk to tax consultants and they'll help you get through. And they've just changed the law. So also very, very important. Input tax deductions. You only claim the maximum window is now 6 months. So you must make sure you don't get it. So
they will wait for 14 points.
Come in. Yes. So I was asking this guy this just yesterday. They did an audit, and I said, well, I submitted my claim to you 13 months ago. You are now coming to audit. This is an issue, and then we resolve it. Are you still going to give me my money? And he said no. Even though I submitted my claim 13 months ago, he said at the time when the issue was raised and you resolved it, the 6-month window has passed. So we're not going to give you your money.
Wow. In other words, they're really not willing to give you money.
So they're trying to tighten things up.
You need to champion this cause. It's a one-sided relationship. You know how love works. It's show love as whatever. You must champion this since you become the sole daring. You have to go there. 40 months later, when the money has devalued, and we are here supporting them.
That's a very good point.
Yes.
We account in dollars. So the time I submitted my tax refund,
it's gone. You are totally devalued.
Yeah.
Friends, I think you should take this one.
Alright. This was also quite important services, and it goes back to what we were talking about in terms of Ghana, Nigeria. Like, if an overseas person does work for you and charges you, export of services is generally zero. But you sitting in Ghana, there's something that we call a reverse charge. That means that you must self-assess yourself to that 17.5% on a service that you have received from Nigeria, where they charge you zero. Am I making sense?
No.
So you bought this tablet from Amazon
from Nigeria.
It's $100.
It should be a service, so let's say service.
Okay. So it's
something.
So they provided service to you, maybe a software, so you use Zero Accounting and you pay them $100, and then in your books, obviously you didn't pay them VAT, but here in your books you have to add 17.5% of that amount and pay to VAT as an input.
Yes.
So this is like paying a tax.
That's why it's a reverse charge, because
why should I do that?
You should. Otherwise, there's a penalty.
So if your business is mainly that way, you're receiving services from outside the country, you have to pay tax from your revenue.
Yes.
Why?
Because let's look at it in two ways. Let's say goods. If you're importing goods, you pay tax at the ports. As part of all your duties, you pay tax, you pay customs, you pay administrative charges.
Sure.
So that one too, you're paying tax on something you procured from overseas. So the same principles apply to services. If somebody provides you a service, they can't catch you at the port to say pay tax on this thing you're bringing. So the onus then lies on you to self-assess yourself to VAT and then pay that to the GRA. Okay? And then you get a credit for that tax that you pay.
No, I don't think I understand that. I'm going to expand it.
Okay.
I'm bringing something, the two sides of it. Not even a service, something to the ports, physical, in a big box. I bring it in, and then it goes through all of those GC net tax, etc.
Yes.
Right? And possibly I'm going to sell them off again to the market, and therefore I'm going to do a markup and make a good.
Yes.
Right. It's possible that I'm also taking it in just a telly in my room or whatever it is.
Yes.
They'll still tax me for that.
Yes. At the port.
Okay, I'm good at the port. I'm just trying to understand. If I got a service and that service is very specific, like software for, let's use Google, but Google is in Nigeria, so I'm using Google Apps. I have my mail XYZ and I'm paying for that. I do a self-assessment of it and pay 17.5% to the government, even though there's like a written agreement that between XYZ there's a 0%. Blah, blah. So these guys on this other side, they are not involved in that. It's all you pay now. I don't understand that. What's the value?
It's the only way that they can get the VAT on that service that has been provided for you by an outsider. So if you go to Nigeria, I'm pretty sure they have. I know for a fact that UK also has this reverse charge.
Okay.
Australia does, South Africa does as well. So there's a way that the governments can get the VAT on the services. Otherwise, there's no other way of them knowing or finding out unless they come and audit you. But at that point, it's further down the line and they'll come and charge you penalties. But at the point where somebody provides you a service and invoices you from outside, you as a receiver of that service will have to self-assess yourself to VAT on that service.
So if the value is
Sorry.
So then I must try and get it.
I don't know how to apologize
because I'm paying tax on it.
So I was trying to look at the value, but I didn't want to confuse VAT with withholding tax.
Okay.
Because like I encountered a situation where I was paying a subscription for a software I was using every month. Then I wrote to them and said, okay, I'm registering for VAT. Yeah, does that mean that I still have to? Because I was paying VAT, the soft plus VAT to them.
Wow, you shouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah, so when I said, they said, okay, then I have to send them my VAT registration document.
Okay. This is from where?
England. I have to send them my VAT before they will stop charging me VAT. And I was like, if I'm not, you're not supposed to charge me VAT, knowing very well that you can, then why are they asking for?
Did you use a UK address?
No,
in purchase?
Some do. For example, South Africa too. Some of them do charge you VAT. If they have this thing, I think if you're local versus exporter. So if you deal with a South African company that is not registered as an exporter, regardless of it, they will still charge you VAT. So that's the distinction. So really, as a taxpayer, you kind of have to know or ask questions when you're dealing with certain things, so that you reduce your exposure.
I think if you went to any shop, even in the States, to buy Europe, anywhere, and you bought stuff, you have to show to them that it's not going to be consumed in that country.
Yes.
So if you are able to prove that, then they don't charge you.
Yes.
So with the same example I gave for the reverse charge. So now, if I don't pay VAT there, I now have to.
The good thing about, if there's ever a good thing about such thing, the water service is that you pay it within 21 days after the tax period. With a normal VAT return is 30 days or 31, depending on the month. So if you pay your water service VAT early enough, you can use that credit against your normal tax return. You see, because you pay it in advance of. So if you have outputs at the end of the month, you can still use the earlier payment against that output. So I keep apologizing. I don't know why, but we're being good citizens. Okay. So I think we've gone through this a lot, but why tax invoices are important? Really, it's compulsory. It's documents and to show you that you've paid the tax. Okay, and it's the only evidence you have to use to support your input claim. I kind of went into some detail as to what you would need to put on the tax. This is all in the law, it's prescribed in the tax law. So you have to make sure you put, you'll get a commissioner's VAT invoice, a green booklet, and it has to be filled a certain way. Otherwise, it will cause issues when they come in audit. But you have to make sure you put your counterparty's name or some address. The dates is important because by rights they should come to your books and then go to your supplier's books, and the two should match. So that's really what they're trying to get at when they prescribe that you should do these things. So the person has gone to pay them output VAT. You are coming to claim that output VAT. So they should match. So these are the kind of things you have to make sure you put in your VAT return.
So this implies that when you're doing, because we are dealing with software, these things, features that we see there on the online form, it must be the same thing that we see.
If you are dealing with a Ghanaian entity, right, you are supposed to give them the commissioner's VAT invoice, that green thing. But you can go and get permission to issue your own invoice. But you need permission to be able to do that. It's only at that point that you can then show all of these things online. But other than that, you should physically send them, once you charge them, you should physically send them the green thing. That's the only evidence they have. Without that green invoice, they will never give you your input claims. I can cover it further down the line, but that's the only way that they will take they'll give you your input tax deductions. So if somebody invoices you and charges you VAT, it doesn't give you a commissioner's VAT invoice, always make sure you get it before you pay. Once you've paid, then hey, there's no loss of them to give it to you. But always get it before you pay. And if they don't, get a copy of the authorization to issue their own invoices and put it on file. You have to make sure you get that on file. So that's the only evidence. Those are the two pieces of evidence you have that you've paid VAT.
So we can actually ask for the letter.
You have to. They have to produce it to you and demand. And you have to keep it.
Electricity bills and all those things.
So ECG, they give it to you on a yearly basis. So every year they'll give you authorization to issue own VAT invoice.
Never seen it.
Never seen it myself.
Should have bought one.
Never.
It's just a letter, Ghana Revenue Authority letterhead. Company name. This company is authorized to produce own VAT invoice.
Now, would you say the Malcolms,
Yes.
do you think they have that letter of authorization?
Malcolm, they do. Because they issue VAT inclusive prices.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see the mutual.
Yes, they do. So the one that you think that they should do, they will
Just let them be, but
Yes.
take that. As evidence.
So we need to ask of Malcolm to show us a copy of the letter.
They can give it to you. They can give it to you. But I mean, if a GRA officer comes to audit, by all rights, they'll know that the Malcolms, the ShopRights, all of those they'll have. So those ones they won't bother you too much about. The Joe blogs and the, yeah, Starbites and things like that. Make sure you get it. Otherwise, you get the green.
But that's even entertainment, so you probably need the exemption.
That's true.
So
That's very true. Very true.
A big tree. Institute.
Okay, so this is all the theory, but lucky you've covered a lot of practical stuff anyway. Yes, sir.
There is a class which I don't know whether it has been captured somewhere. It's called CST class.
Yes.
Buy the software, if you are buying software from a foreign company, and you pay in addition to the VAT.
CST, it shouldn't apply to foreign companies. CST applies to owners of what they call Class 1 telecom companies. And those are Ghanaian companies, so the Vodafones, those ones who are registered by the NCA as Class 1. They are the ones who are supposed to charge CST. So if a non-resident is charging you CST, that's a big red flag. Number one.
It's a personal experience. We bought a software in a foreign company, and we paid. They said it's classified under CST tax. And we paid, it was 6%.
Wow, from a foreign company?
Yes. We paid. So we paid attention to the VAT, then it was 15%. So we paid 21% tax.
It would be interesting to see that.
Because in fact, we asked why we are paying that tax.
Yeah.
And we're told that it's only us from buying something from outside.
Who charged them? Who charged the GRA charged them?
Yeah.
They should not
That's what is incentive to us. What? That's what we're told.
No, they shouldn't have done
Only us
that.
to buy something.
See how it's good to be
You
taxed
were
away?
lied to. Yes.
It's good to be taxed away.
You were lied
Next
to.
time you don't pay.
Somebody is cutting for
Somebody's cutting
Yes,
corners.
I get it. Something.
They are making it go down for you, but you don't know.
That's why we need to demystify it like that.
You shouldn't have paid it. Or they shouldn't have charged you. Definitely.
Nana,
But
Yes.
if you say no, and they refuse to sell to you,
go
you go somewhere
Go
else.
somewhere else.
unless there's no one else.
Unless they have a
The reason we paid was that the person who advised us was the one who in charge of us in the company. So he realized that we were buying something from outside. We had to pay that tax in addition to the VAT.
I'll have to look into that and see maybe there's.
In fact, we also didn't understand it why it should be under software.
Yes.
You will think that because communication is something that gets you like telecoms.
Yeah.
After you've realized, can you go back and shoot them?
As a personal decision.
The amount is great chasing after.
Exactly. You pay a lot more than you originally even set out to do. So, registration requirements. I think that just added it here. Basically, went through the steps of what you need to do as a company. Register with the RGD, register if you've got foreign ownership, GIPC and the like. And then the next step really is registering with the GRA. It's always good to do that when you're doing all your registrations, to be honest. So register with the GRA and then go to SNIT if you have employees. I haven't covered employee taxes at all here, so but if you've got any questions, we can always go through. So, criteria that the GRA used to segment taxpayers. Now they are trying to have small offices, medium offices, large offices. Okay? So, small taxpayer, if you have annual income or turnover of up to 120,000. And your medium taxpayer between 120 and 5 million. And anything over 5 million annually, you're a large taxpayer. So you kind of have to know where you fit.
Small taxpayer.
For small taxpayers, has it just recently gone up to 120?
Yes,
it used to be 90.
It used to be 90,
Okay.
yes. It used to be 90. I think they've done it in line with the VAT.
Yes,
VAT is now 120 as well. That used to be 90 as well. Yeah? So find out where you fit and then register with the appropriate office closest to you. Tax, we've talked about TIN numbers already, or TINs, very important. So if you don't have one already, please go and register and get one. It will become a necessary requirement very soon. Okay, and then these are the documents you need for registration. Your normal registration documents from 344, certificates, director's information. Don't go and give them Google Maps. They'll tell you you're trying to show off when you're trying to remember the location. Please handle it for now. Okay, but you need to give them a means of getting to your location. You can get you get one as an individual, and you'll also get one for the business.
And those are like two separate things. So I'm assuming I have a business. So my business has a TIN number, and then I, as an individual.
Indeed. Yeah. Good. I'll just whisk quickly through the rest. I think we've talked about documentation requirements. As you're registered, documentation is key. I've talked about audit, but that's the only way that they get additional revenue that they think you didn't do right the first time and then charge you penalties. So whenever they come to audit, the mindset is the taxpayer is doing things wrong and I'm going to get penalties out of it. So once your documentation is done well and it's original, you're okay.
That's why they are frustrated when they don't get anything.
Yes.
Yes. Comes and need help, I need things, and still looking for things to do.
Yes. Especially when they're not meeting targets. Right now they're not meeting targets as well, so everything is, they're looking into everything. Okay? So you have to keep records of everything, everybody you've paid, how much you've deducted, what the net amount was. And then at the end of the month, you do your withholding tax return, pay it to the GRA, when you're taking your return to the GRA, it's always good to take 2 copies. One for them, one for you. Okay? Get them both stamped, and you keep your stamped copy. That's the only evidence that you paid, and you paid on time in advance of the deadline. Even if you pay 1 day after the deadline, they'll come and charge you penalties. So make sure you pay by the deadline date and have it stamped to show your deadline, to show your date of payment. Keep a record. Right, so we went through this one. VAT, exactly the same thing. Key is the Commissioner's VAT invoice, the green one, or authorization that they have done that. And evidence that you paid your imported services. There's a separate imported service form that you fill. So make sure you do that so you pay it.
Hold on, imported services, that's if you're getting stuff from abroad.
Yes, services from outside.
Okay.
I can
You
email
see,
you.
there's a separate form for that.
Yes, indeed. I can send you one by email.
Yes. Please, that would be nice. Thank you.
Let me make it so. All right. Alright. Moving swiftly on. CIT, again, record keeping. Yeah.
What's CIT?
Corporate income tax. So the first income we covered. Okay. And these are the deadlines. And then the penalties you pay if you don't meet your deadlines. Withholding tax, 15th of the end, 15th after the month end, 15th of every month. If the 15th falls on a Saturday or a Sunday, please pay it on a Friday. Don't wait till the week after, because then your dates shown on your receipt is after the 15th and you're exposed. So always pay before. There's a law that says it should actually be the next calendar day, but nobody remembers that law, so practice dictates. VAT, 1 month after. So January VAT is actually due today, Friday the 28th, because it's the last day of the month. So, important, it's actually 21 days here. Your corporate income tax return due 4 months after the year end, and then PAYE also on the 15th. SNET is the 14th as well.
So April is more or less like
tax season.
You know, season for the
yeah. You can get a 2-month extension if you're not ready by the end of April. But
it has to be written.
You have to write a letter, and then they have to acknowledge the letter as well. So if you don't have that on your records, please actively chase for them to acknowledge that you've got the 2-month extension. This is what I was saying next year is going to be interesting, because now, this was Tuesday's graphic, self-assessments for all. Self-assessments only used to be for large companies. Now they're going to do it for those registered at small and medium. Again, another way of getting money in. Can be revised at any point. You can revise it every day of the year if you want. They will only pick the last one. But you have to make sure that you submit a self-assessment and pay tax on a quarterly basis. So right now, instead of GRA waiting till the end of the year to collect the tax that didn't suffer withholding, now they'll get it every quarter. Okay? That's what this is really saying. But the penalty is the if you want to increase your tax, then you can do that. If you want to reduce, make sure you submit another self-assessment showing your different circumstances. Because as far as they're aware, at the beginning of the year, you told them you were going to pay me 50. Why are you now paying me 20? And you haven't told me why you're paying me 20.
When did they intend to introduce this?
2015, right?
Yeah. That's what this is.
So they are working on a new tax act. We expect it sometime this year, which consolidates all the, there's so many acts all over the place. So we're going to have one tax act. So I suspect that's where they're going to put this.
Now we know.
But no, this one is so important. Build a relationship. Build a relationship with your tax guys. And also with your consultants. But the tax guys are key. So me, generally, I tend to go there every week, every other week, or I call, just friendly. So if you have a question and you call them, oh, they're so happy when you ask them questions because they feel as if they are sharing with you. So even if I know the answer sometimes, I'll just call to ask just for validation. Let's see. And they're happy because, hey, the tax person is calling to ask me questions. You know, that sort of stuff. So it's very important. And know the difference between tipping and bribing.
Is there a difference?
Yes! Before
One is 500 and one is
Is it an inducement or an offer?
Oh. Tipping and bribing.
Yes. They're two separate things.
Yes. Tipping. Why am I tipping you? Your salary is the tip.
Do you just want a relationship.
You want a relationship?
Yes, I want a relationship. I want a good one. And I'm not tipping anybody. I don't get tipped.
So I know that I know that in the past, you used to have, in the tax office, there would be a schedule officer,
Yes.
for each company. These days they don't do that because they feel like, that's where the bribery and all that corruption was. So now anyone can pick up your file and, kind of investigate, But you mentioned that, build a relationship with your schedule officers and all that.
What they now have, particularly the small and medium offices, they have one office that deals with withholding.
Okay.
One,
yes.
When I say office, room, this deals with room, this deals
The
with
direct and
room,
indirect.
this. So whenever just pop into the room, hey, hello, auntie, this, uncle, that, that sort of stuff really helps. It helps, so it really does.
It does.
So should we be tipping or bragging?
Neither. For example, what I do is, if I know, we just talked, it was my birthday last week. Oh, happy birthday. Then I don't do money, definitely not.
Yeah.
Even if I buy you, I don't know, something small, happy birthday.
The business is
You
not
remember?
making any money to give you.
Then that's fine.
Happy birthday.
Or give them a t-shirt with your logo on it.
Yeah. That's souvenir. I'm a young business. I need to survive. 5 years later, we'll have this discussion.
It depends on your company policy. I think I should really put that out here. For example, PwC, where I used to work, 0. You're not allowed to.
PwC is a big enterprise, so you can get away with a lot.
No tipping, no bribing, nothing. It's all about relationship. The only thing you can do is maybe take them to lunch. Not buy them lunch, but you physically sit down and have lunch with them. That's fine. But anything else
pay for it.
They pay for it as well.
No, you can pay for it. So I remember we took some guys to lunch, 2 of them. I think they ended up taking 2 bottles of wine home with them. Which we had to pay for.
They bribe themselves.
I like that. I'm trying to give the celebrity guys
I don't know whether they had told the waiters or something, because the bill came and then 2 bottles of wine came with it. So then you couldn't do anything about it.
They know how to call it. Special pressure fee.
Yes, files, I think we've talked about that. Oh yes, this is important. Please, no photocopies or scanned copies of anything. If somebody emails you an invoice, even if they have the authorization to issue their own VAT invoice and there's a stamp on that invoice, if the stamp is photocopied or stamped, they'll say they don't accept it. So get them to send you an original stamp on it. It says these days, in the days of cyber fraud, somebody can just cut the stamp and put it on an invoice and
Are we the only country that's doing this? Go to Britain.
So please get originals. Okay.
But if you have
taxes, we are far ahead.
Sorry?
You have a color printer, they send you by email printing.
Taxes.
You're not allowed to. You won't get it. I'm talking from personal experience. You won't get it.
Scott more generous. There was someone who said
Email it.
and I do want to
Before you pay. Because once you pay, keep your documents.
The undergrads are coming to undergrad.
Keep your documents, please. The law says you should keep your documents for a minimum of 6 years. It doesn't tell you maximum. Okay? So please keep your documents and then practice versus law.
My dear, have you
Yes.
have you practiced tax outside of this country?
Yes.
Where was this?
UK.
Was it like this?
No,
you see.
No, but you can't compare. You're comparing apples and pears.
Why am I?
In the UK, they know where you are at any given time. They have your address. You are a recognized.
We're taking details of location.
Don't
worry. We don't have to get there before we apply. Like the way we're applying the rules.
But you see, that's the reason why we are doing this, so that we are all aware and we know what we're supposed to do. You know, it's important. We'll get there. But my key issue when I got back here was practice versus law. The law says this. Oh, but we are doing it this way. Tomorrow they'll turn around and say we no longer do it this way. So come and pay penalties on everything you used to do. So that's also always something to keep at the back of your mind. If you're doing something you really know that, Charlie, this is an exposure, even though they've told me, either get it documented, get it in writing, or try not to do it. Do it the right way. Right from the very beginning. Then you're good. Again, another personal experience. This thing about photocopies. Customs. Previously, they used to insist only on the original customs documents. Now, obviously, with electronic documentation, they want original bank documents to say that you have paid. So your bank receipts have to be original. Previously, they weren't insisting on that. They came and did an audit and tried to disallow for us bank documents dating back January 2013. Okay, and the argument is, at that time, you were accepting it. So why now you're coming to disallow it? And then it's an exposure. It's a big exposure that we are currently facing. So that's why I put it there, risks, practice versus law. Just do things as you're supposed to, right from the beginning, and it'll help. Okay. Right, I think we are there. Consult. Each other, anybody. You. Yes. PRA, they're there to help. They really are there to help. Once you have that relationship, they will help. They will help. That's it. Thank you. Interesting.
Yes, if tax avoidance is legal, at what point in time you can bring out
At what point?
Yeah.
Try. As long as it's legal, as long as you're not doing anything that breaches tax law, always try. Always. That's my personal, I'm not talking from the point of view of anybody, but that's my personal thing. Coming from where I'm from in the UK, that was our #1 goal, reduce my tax liability. So we're always looking for ways around the law to reduce your tax liability. It's not that easy here because there's so much practice versus law. So, and the law is this thick as compared to the UK where there's a specific law that's like this. So with this law that is this thick, you can interpret one line 20 million times. So it's the tax avoidance issue, very dodgy, to be honest. Thank you guys for everything.
Yeah, I think we can do it better. One of the most important things that Nana has helped us to see as business people, entrepreneurs, and without proper consultation, you do it in one way, and that's what she keeps on saying, practice. The other day, I think this week, Tom Yedu, was talking about, the